spy thriller worthy of the name, Call of Duty Black Ops 6's campaign is a hugely welcome reinvigoration of the long-running first-person shooter series. It looks back at what has historically made the best COD single-player mode so great and throws in its own exciting and novel ideas into the mix to fantastic effect. Telling one of the most engaging stories the series has ever seen, Black Ops 6's enticing variety and impressive scale provide a stellar return to form.
You guys see The Great Escape?
Yeah, you didn't make it out. We will.
The Black Ops games shifted focus away from theatres of full-scale war and onto spy thrillers in the mould of Mission Impossible, beginning with 2010's first entry and evolving into a refined, enthralling form with Black Ops 6. It's in this distinct direction that the returning Adler and Woods team up with a new team of skilled operators, this time in 1991, to combat an emerging new threat called the Pantheon, amid rumours of the creation of a potentially history-changing bioweapon. Sure, 2020's Cold War had its fair share of espionage action, but the majority of Black Ops 6's missions don't take place on the flashes and bangs of the front line, but in the shadows that lie deep behind it. Two missions in particular showcase this brilliantly: the infiltration of a political gala in Most Wanted, and the casino heist of High Rollers.
I don't know why you're here exactly, but you need to be very, very careful.
The former presents 3 different options for how you want to go about completing your objective. I had a great time tinkering with a silent auction, but other paths are available that will test your spy skills. And while your choice has no lasting impact on the story, it does add an element of replayability to otherwise linear levels. The heist, by contrast, has you swapping between multiple members of your blacklisted team, spread across lavish slot machine-filled surroundings and the dank underground waterways beneath. You don't get to swap freely, but the slick character baton passes add another dash of cinematic flair.
You look like someone who appreciates luxury and finesse. And an edge.
There's an enjoyable amount of flexibility to how you can approach other missions as well. Stealth is often encouraged, but going loud is almost always an option, with insta-fail stealth thankfully only rearing its ugly head on 1 or 2 occasions. Keep into the shadows or hidden underwater made me feel like a silent assassin, but when I let that slip I had to swiftly switch to a more combative style. And the gunplay crucially delivers in both areas, with suppressed headshots satisfyingly pinging brains out of heads in one trigger pull, and rattling SMGs and punchy shotguns, feeling great when manically dashing in and out of cover thanks to the exciting new Omni movement system. This completely revamped movement mechanic allows you to sprint in any direction, as well as leap into the air sideways while firing to pull off your best gun-fu-esque stunts. The variety of its levels and top-tier presentation make sure that it's never once dull, but this is a feat of stamina as well. By the historical standards of Call of Duty campaigns, Black Ops 6 is one of the longest, clocking in at just around 8 hours for me. I do wish though that Call of Duty had more tricks up its sleeve by now when it comes to adding difficulty and differences to enemy encounters. Even now, after so many games, it's still resorting to simply chucking a juggernaut or 2 your way to unload full magazines into when it wants to ramp up the stakes. But at least this time these challenges are occasionally solved via more interesting means, thanks to a range of spy gadgets handed out at regular intervals. A throwing knife that can home in on targets adds a welcome dose of Batman energy to proceedings, and the trusty explosive remote control RCXD cars make a fun return. When downtime is had between outings, the writing hits a fun sweet spot between cliche and self-awareness and is supported by a cast that fully buys into their roles. You'll spend more time with them when you return to the safe house, where you can learn more about your teammates' backstories, solve puzzles, and purchase valuable upgrades using cash found on missions. It's a further example of the increased flexibility in game design and the way that developer Raven Software is encouraging you to adopt your own playstyle. Your sizable Bulgarian manor is also home to dormant KGB secrets, which I had a great time uncovering. While none of the puzzles are too brain-testing, they successfully add even further variety to an otherwise expectedly gun-heavy time. It's surprisingly involved and a fantastic improvement on an idea that began as a small abandoned garage in 2020's Cold War, serving as a great place to plan for heists, undercover operations, and the completely unexpected. Speaking of which, I won't say too much here as not to spoil it, but perhaps the best mission of the whole campaign riffs off of previous Black Ops hallucinogenic episodes to create something that touches on the likes of BioShock, Prey and Control in both its aesthetic and level design. It's hard to know which of Black Ops 6's many great missions will ultimately be remembered most fondly, but I have a feeling it might just be the weirdest that cements its place as an all-timer. That isn't to say you're kept completely out of more traditional combat zones. The first Gulf War serves as the backdrop for Black Ops 6's story, and you do spend a couple of missions in the 90s Middle East. This allows for the mission design to return to its modern military roots, but does so by innovating on the Call of Duty formula, which is best exemplified in a mid-game mission that is as ambitious in its scale as any I've ever seen from this series of campaigns.
Here, you won the straw vote and get to carry the TAC map.
Taking place over a vast desert map, you're given the task of destroying 3 Scud missile sites, in any order and by any means of your choosing. Feel like driving straight through the front door in a Jeep? Go for it. It may be much more advisable to pick off a few targets from afar and think about things more methodically though. Points of interest are also dotted around the map, and those can reveal themselves to be anything from special equipment supply drops to SAS scouts who show you enemy locations.
Delta, you made it. I've got enemy positions. Take a look.
These areas are worth exploring too, as certain side objectives are built into the larger main mission design, such as when I blew up 3 different enemy SAM encampments to free up the airspace and allow me to control a helicopter's buzzsaw of a machine gun later on. This choice and consequence system is further explored in an equally exciting later mission too, and is one of Black Ops 6's true masterstrokes. It's a fantastic use of everything Call of Duty does at its best, and a ludicrously better example of how it can borrow from its Warzone and multiplayer modes to build something truly exciting in an open space that blows last year's feeble attempt out of the water. It frankly puts Modern Warfare 3's open mission design to shame, and shows the worth of granting a development team more than a handful of months to cobble together a campaign.
Your crew's not too shabby, Park. Now let's see what else they've got.
Although enthralling to play, the fact that these missions take place during Operation Desert Storm doesn't serve the story in anywhere near as fulfilling a way, making the controversial conflict come across more like window dressing. They don't delve into or address in a meaningful manner any of the human issues at play that surrounded the conflict in 1991 Kuwait, Iraq and the larger Gulf area. Instead, this is a story that's far more concerned with being a popcorn spy thriller than it is with examining or even reacting to its own subject matter, which in and of itself isn't a fundamental issue, but after Modern Warfare's weak argument against chemical weapons in 2019 and Modern Warfare 3's refusal to use terrorism for anything more than cheap thrills just last year, Black Ops 6 follows an unfortunate trend of recent COD campaigns declining to offer an emotionally nuanced reading of the settings they take on. What is delivered is a constantly engaging spy thriller story as the exiled Woods, Adler and a string of new faces go off the record to decipher the links between the CIA, Saddam Hussein and the Pantheon.
Woods was right. You are a good shot.
What begins as a fairly standard cloak and dagger plot really comes alive in the back half, managing to weave in personal stakes and treats for long-time Black Ops fans. The nature of its closing chapter crept up and honestly surprised me, somehow managing to balance a bombastic crescendo with genuine emotive strain. It's as good as a Call of Duty plot has been in a long time.
You good to go? Am now.
An excellent string of missions that offer variety and flexibility come together to make the best Call of Duty campaign in many years. Black Ops 6 is a fantastic return to form for the series, allowing the designers at Raven to delve deep into their bag of tricks and keep you guessing at every turn. It successfully makes each chapter distinct from one another whilst maintaining a strong level of quality across the board. Packing a thoroughly engaging story that gets better the longer it goes on, it exceeds expectations regarding level design and creativity, showing that when given the time to craft them properly, Call of Duty campaigns still have what it takes to be up there with the best first-person shooters. For more Black Ops 6, check out the first minutes of campaign gameplay or our impressions of its multiplayer and zombies modes.